Can you hear me?
Well, I think this is going to be something of a very pleasant surprise for our regular viewers. We're joined again by Jimmy and JoAnne Moriarty. How you guys doing tonight?
Great,
Doing
Jason.
good. How about you?
I'm very well. It's not even Monday, but it's lovely to see you again. We've got a special treat for Crowdsource the Truth viewers tonight. And for people who maybe haven't seen Jimmy and JoAnne before, you can watch Unseen Libya every Monday night. That's a sponsor-exclusive show that people can see on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty. And it can also be seen simulcast on Patreon and Subscribestar for Crowdsource the Truth. JoAnne, do you want to tell us exactly what it is that we're going to be sharing with everybody tonight?
Yeah, this is an event happening in Dallas right now. It's a live event. It's going to start in a few minutes with Senator Bob Hall. He's a Texas senator. He's going to be talking about contact tracing and how it tramples all over liberties. This group is called the American Liberty Forum. And we know them. This church is Pastor Broden's church in Dallas, and this is the first place we ever did a seminar, ever. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And is this also the same place where that CIA guy gave a speech and you came there and busted him?
No, this was the IRS people. They were there. They were good folks. And then we met Lee Harvey Oswald's girlfriend at that place.
There's
Pastor Broden right
let's
there.
Tune in and see what they're saying.
Educate, inform, and activate.
We'll be starting soon.
I think it was Thomas Jefferson who said that an educated citizenry is a vital requisite to our survival as a nation. So part of what we're doing here tonight is providing information. Information asks and answers the question, what's going on? What's going on? Most of you here are awoke. I think that's the way they're saying it. But you're awake. You know what's happening, but most do not. And part of our effort here is to give you the kind of information that you can share with others that would help them to realize the urgency of the hour. We're facing an authentic threat. Our very survival as a nation depends upon how we respond to the question, what is going on? Why asks and answers the question, we said information, education. Education asks and answers the question, why is this happening to us? And we need to answer that question too. That there is an agenda, an ideology that's in the public square that is winning the hearts and minds of young people. And they're believing in the lie. The Bible says when it comes time for the end, there will be a deceptive spirit that will go out and deceive many. You're in the church, so you're going to get some church now. And we will deceive women. And men and women, there is a deceptive spirit that is out there. And it's appealing, it's seductive, it's alluring to those who are uninformed and uneducated. So we want to inform, educate, and then activation. There is no activation without those two that precede it, information and education. And so we want to do that tonight. Here's a challenge I want to give to you, because you and I, we've been in meetings before. We know one another. But I want to challenge you. Many of you silver heads in here. Right? My head is silver too, just I don't have much of it. You can't see it. I tell folks that I'm 2 years short of 7, 2 years. But here's your challenge. Next time we have a meeting like this, would you bring your sons, your daughters, so that they can know what in the world is going on? Because they're not here, our strength has been marginalized by their ignorance.
Yes.
And you are facilitating that by not challenging them to come. I think you have one card that you can play with your kids always. Do it for me just one time. Just one time, son. I mean, and he's okay, Dad. Okay, Mom, I'll come. And when they come, they'll get the kind of information that we need for them to have in order to be effective to rescue this republic. And we're on a rescue mission. How many know that's the truth today? We're on a rescue mission. What's happening in the streets of America now is not incidental or accidental. It is by design. It's by design. It is crises management on the left. Order, chaos, new order. That's what we're seeing. An alien dialogue. Let's do this. Stand to your feet and let's open with a word of prayer. Eternal God, we're grateful for your presence in our lives and in this church. We pray that you open our eyes that we may see, our ears that we may hear the urgency of the hour, and how we, as your servants, may serve the purposes of God in this very unusual, dark time in our nation. Let the ember of your light shine forth through us as we speak truth to power and participate in the rescue of this republic. We ask this in the name that is above all of the names, the name of Jesus, who is our Redeemer, our Savior, and our Lord. And God's people said, Amen. Would you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor and respect to society. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Yeah. You may be seated.
Hi, good evening, and we are so thankful that you've come out tonight. Thank you to those who are watching us. We've got a Zoom meeting with American Liberty Forum. We're on Facebook with several groups, and we welcome you who are watching us as well. We have some candidates in the room, and we're going to acknowledge that they're here. And if you'll hold your applause till the end, we appreciate it. Chad Perda is running for sheriff. He's in the room. You know, everybody's so bad. Republicans, you know, conservatives, I should say. Tilly Perkins running for national delegate, C5. Susan Johnson running for re-election SREC, SC16. Jill Robert running for re-election SREC, SC12. Can I say Angela? Angela Singletary is running for City Council in Boulder Springs. Okay. Morgan Meyer, Abigail Davis here for him in the back, and he's HG 108. Sorry about that. Dr. Eugene Allen running for 109, HG 109. Will Douglas over here running for HG 113. Samuel Smith in the back running for 107. Dallas County Commissioner, vote Hardin. Where are you, Mr. Hardin? I think that's everybody today. Great. Okay. I have the honor and privilege to welcome and introduce our speaker tonight, and we're so appreciative of PNK. So many ideals and principles that we hold dear are at risk. They're at stake right now, and we're working hard. We're honored to have a true champion of liberty here to speak up tonight. Senator Bob Hall has been a patriot through all of his life, and a lot of you know him, but some of you don't, so we're going to give you a little history on this great man. He's graduated of the Citadel. You know, that's a wonderful military college, and he's made some really wonderful leaders. During his time there, he was the only Air Force cadet who was selected to be a battalion commander. He received numerous other leadership awards while he was there. He was awarded the coveted Wade Hampton Saber. It's an honor bestowed on a graduating cadet who contributed the most to the Citadel during their time there. It's a really big deal. After graduation, he was already a cadet. He headed to military, and he was active duty as a systems engineer, working to develop the Minuteman missile system at Norton Air Force Base in California. He achieved the rank of captain before he retired from service. That has been a great blessing to our state, was his time there, because he knows so much about the British shoot and has really fought hard to try to protect us with that. We appreciate that. I'm sorry. Got out of order because everything's on the wrong page. All right, so he started an engineering company, and after retiring from that, he got elected to be the senator for the Senatorial District 2, and we have been so glad to have him fighting in that position. While in the Senate, he served as chairman of the Committee on Agriculture and vice chairman of Veterans Affairs and Work Security. He's earned the reputation of being open-minded and willing to discuss ideas, but Bob Hall remains absolutely unwavering in holding to his core conservative principles and Judeo-Christian values. He believes in the Declaration of Independence, and he follows our Constitution. He's pro-life, pro-gun, pro-liberty, pro-Judeo-Christian, conservative values, and a staunch proponent of the free market. He and his awesome wife, Kay, live in Edgewood, Texas, and we are blessed to have this patriotic servant here with us tonight to discuss how contact tracing tramples our liberty. Help me welcome Bob Hall.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. It's just, it's an honor, and I'm humbled and blessed that God has given me this opportunity to give back and to serve. So we've got a lot of work to do. Our founding fathers knew what they were talking about when they said that our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. It is our government. And unfortunately, too many people advocate that responsibility. But before I start talking tonight, I just want to make sure that everybody understands I am a conservative because Kay makes me be. I kid you not. She was in politics long before I was, and she showed me where to go and what to do. And you know how she keeps me there? She threatens to run against me. So it's out of pure fear that I stay on the right. And also, before we get started, I want to do something tonight here that I wanted to do for a long time, to recognize a man of God and country who serves both. And it's been my pleasure to have first met him when he ran for Congress and worked with him in the grassroots. Where's our pastor, brother? I knew, and I'm going to do this because I watched you, I followed you. You've been my idol in so many ways. No idol. No idol. Second, I was going to have to look you guys. Because of your commitment and your willingness to stand up and speak the truth when others want you to say something else. So I just want to do a little something so we had a flag thrown over the state of town. Wow. In your honor. Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. and Ray Myers met many years ago, and we were putting pressure on one of the representatives, was it? You remember? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. And we bird dogged him and hounded him to the extent now that he when he sees me coming, he runs the other way. And hey, guess what? The same is true about our husband. When he sees me, he I'm trying to get away because I challenge him every time I say Amen. And that's what we all should do. Amen. Amen. Pay for this air conditioning. Thank you. I wish I could say that I'm going to tell you a story tonight and make you real happy so you can go home and you sleep good. But I'll warn you ahead of time, I'm not going to do that. It's not because I want to do that. It's because it's a reality of where we are. As I said in the letter that I wrote to the governor, there is never a right time or a right way to do the wrong thing. And way too often we find our legislative and political leaders trying to find some way to put the lipstick on the pig and make it do something it's not supposed to do or look like something it's not supposed to do. And that's contact tracing. Actually, it was originally called contact tracking, but they did a poll. People didn't like the idea of being tracked. So they did another poll, find out what they did like, and it turns out they're okay with contact tracing. So it's now called contact tracing. Is it any different? Absolutely not. Is there anything wrong with it? Not when done right and used in its right application. We've had it. We've been doing it. In the early 1900s, it was contact tracking that helped us identify and track down and find typhoid Moriarty. Now, typhoid is a bacteria. The COVID is a virus. That has nothing to do with the process. This is the process by which you identify people to stop the spread of contagious diseases. Ebola is contagious. Typhoid is contagious. HIV is contagious. COVID is contagious, but in different degrees. And contact tracking or tracing works for things like Ebola, TB, HIV, which why they are very deadly, and we really want to use that tool because they are very deadly. They are not very contagious. Yes, they are contagious, but not to the degree that things like the Wuhan virus or the COVID or the Chinese, whatever you want to call it. It is highly contagious, but unlike Ebola, it's not very deadly. Now let's back up a little bit though and talk about how we got to where we are. Because if you remember when this all started, we were led to believe that the virus was very deadly, probably a death rate of about 7% of rate. It was highly contagious, and it was going to affect everybody equally. It had no discrimination of age, sex, race. Everybody was going to be exposed to it. And we could expect if we didn't find some way to treat it or cure it, then we'd have 240,000 Texans dead by August, which means we would have about 100,000 dead by now. And that's how we started, with a big, big scare. If you want to think about the reason behind that, let me tell you another little story. A story that how Khrushchev, when he was going into power, was out on a farm in Russia, explaining to people how communism was going to work and why the people would follow along in it. He was on a farm, several people there, and the animals running around, and he stopped, and reached down, and he picked up a chicken, held that chicken underneath his arm, and he kept talking. And as he's talking, he starts pulling feathers out of the chicken. Pull one or two out, then 3 or 4, then a handful, and he started ripping the feathers out of the chicken, and the chicken screaming and hollering, and essentially starting to bleed. And he keeps pulling the feathers out. He keeps talking about the benefits of socialism, how it will provide for people homes for people, guaranteed income, guaranteed education, etc. And he's pulling away on those feathers, and finally gets all the feathers out of the chicken, or most of it anyhow, and that chicken's just screaming and hollering and bleeding, and he sets it on the ground. And he walks over to the feed bag, where he picks up a handful of food, and he walks back to the chicken, drops a little food in front of it, chicken eats it, and he walks a few steps and drops a little more food, a few steps and drops a little more. Next thing you know, the chicken follows all the way across the barnyard as he keeps talking about the benefits of communism. Folks, that's the way it happens with us. They treat really bad, and then when they offer a little something like opening the businesses up 25%, it's a little bit of feed, we feel real happy, like they've really done something for us. But in reality, they have crushed our liberty, crushed what our founding fathers intended for us here. Folks, pandemics are nothing new. We have had them since the country was founded. They have been around every few years. We have gone through things far worse than this. Matter of fact, in the same time frame of what we've lost 1,600 people last month, we had about 7,500 of the flu die. So it's not quite what it seems, but let's talk about where we are, because that part of it we can talk all night. We are where we are. But let's talk about contact tracing and what they have envisioned for it. And what I want to tell you, I didn't get off of Facebook, and I didn't get off from reading articles written by people. I got my information directly from our Health and Human Services people by talking to them directly more than once. And so what I described to you is what they have described to me, and it is not necessarily consistent with what our governor has said, who has vehemently said that it will be all voluntary. He has said that a number of times, that it will be all voluntary. But then again, we got to remember that there was something said about masks, of people not being required to wear them. And they've kind of found a way around that, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So the way it was described to me is, and it's going to be set up with a lot of people and a whole lot of money going into it. That is a problem in itself, because as I started out, there's never a right time or a right way to do the wrong thing. Contact tracing or tracking, it is wrong technically, because it does not, will not, cannot work with a virus like what the COVID is. It is wrong financially, because we are in the deepest kind of trouble the state has ever been in from a financial standpoint. But oil prices are down, sales tax is down, new car sales. I spoke to the folks from the railroad a couple of weeks ago, and they said their new car shipments are down 70%. New car sales tax, vehicle registrations are a significant part of the state's budget. Even the lottery is down. Folks, it is all down. So spending a dime, and the people argue that, and here's the argument probably had, it's federal money. It's not state. We're spending federal. You know what the difference between state money and federal money is? They take the federal money out of your left pocket, and we take the state money out of your right pocket. And the cities and counties just whatever left over. So, but it's wrong financially to spend. We'll spend at least, their initial contract is $300 million. The scope of what they're talking about is probably 3 times that size. And it's morally wrong because of the invasion of privacy and the trampling of liberty and individual rights of the people. So it is wrong on all counts. But let me run you through the scenario description of how they expect this to work. when you go get a test, and therein lies a big problem in itself, in that the CDC has gone back and forth on the issue of asymptomatic and symptomatic. Those of you who may not follow that, this virus, people can have it and never know it. Never know it. They can have it, maybe they may have a little nausea, some symptoms, but they think it's something else and they get right through it. They just never know it. The article I read today estimated that it's probably about 10 to 1 that people asymptomatic, having it and spreading it. Remember, the CDC's been on both sides, and this is one of the problems we have. They've been on both sides of can it do this, can't do this, and so on. The latest is this came out of a huge study that was done, including a lot of Europe and a lot of data. This was thousands and thousands of cases that asymptomatic people can spread the virus. So tracking can only track the people who have been tested and we know they have it. So right out of the gate, we're focusing on most likely 1/10 of the number of people that can spread it. But the way it will work is you get tested, and then the lab now contacts the state, gives them your name, phone number, and address. And right now, that's not working very well because that time period from the time you take the test till the state gets it is about 2 weeks. So, and we're spending a lot of money for that. That's a whole other story. But anyway, it works. And so then they contact you. And I've said, so where is this voluntary? Oh, when we call, they don't have to talk to us. They don't have to answer the questions. Okay, that's fine. It was even said they can hang up, and that's the end of it. Well, there's another state that has been doing it voluntary, and it was voluntary, and they found that they were only getting about 30% of the people to volunteer. So that changed. I'm just saying it starts out voluntary. That's what they've said it's going to be. But our evidence of what's happening, I believe it was Kansas, another state where it all of a sudden became non-voluntary. And I said, okay, so that's voluntary. They can hang up. What about the person when they answer the questions, or because the question is, okay, where have you been and what have you done for the last week, 2 weeks? How many of you here could right now sit down and tell somebody where you've been or who you've been with or whatever? No. So how's that going to work? Because somebody said, maybe I was at Chili's for lunch on Monday and I went shopping at Macy's and then I was over at Town East on Thursday. I think it was Thursday. I don't remember. I was in a couple of stores. Oh, now I've gotten this story from both sides. So which way it's going to be, I can't say for sure. But the answer I got the first time was, oh, the businesses will keep a log of who's in the store on what day. The restaurants will keep a log on who sat at what table with who on what day. And I can tell you, I have had people call me already that had tried to go to a restaurant and got met at the door wanting to have an ID before they let them in to sit there. It's happened in Dallas. It's happened in Austin. And so I've actually had people. So what is happening out there is a little bit different from what was said would be happening or could be happening when I was told later that, oh, no, we won't have the laws. So there is no way to make this work if they don't have them. So it doesn't make sense. But then the next step was, okay, so you find out that Fred had seen Betty, Judy, Bill, George, whatever, and you get their number and call them. Said, how does Fred, Billy, and George, how did they volunteer to get into this thing? And there was dead silence. Well, they don't have to answer either. So that's kind of how that part of it went. So they're saying it's voluntary. There is no way for it to meaningfully work if it stays voluntary. Then we moved on to, okay, what are you really looking for other than who they're in contact with? said, oh, well, we'll need to know, but the very important thing is the living conditions of the person. Well, we're going to say, oh, but we're not going to ask them any personal questions about finances or something like that. But we're going to, like, is it a family of 5 living in a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom? It's going to be hard for a person to quarantine or isolate in those circumstances, particularly if the house has an elderly person in it or a young person. And so I said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, we're going to have some government facilities that the people can move into, or maybe the child, or the elderly person. And I said, and that's voluntary? The answer I got was, we hope it will be voluntary. And I said, that's when I started my blood pressure going like that. I said, where in the world do you think you're going to get the authority to do this? Hang on to the censor. Oh, we already have it. We already have it. I said, really? He says, oh yeah. It is part of the health code that gives the authority to the county health officer to quarantine people with a contagious disease. Now, it has a purpose, and I can't say it's bad, because when you do have a person that has a contagion, because we've had people with contagious diseases who decided they want to go out and use that to infect other people. And so that's what it was put in place for. It's one of those things, when it's used right, it has a right place and it's a right time to do it. The unfortunate thing is we have seen what our mayors, some of them, and our judges will do when given just a little bit of authority with something to turn it into something you never intended for it to be. And so we find ourselves, that's in a situation where we take something that's intended for good that could really be used for bad. And so that's where it starts to get a little dicey in what we're going to do with this, particularly since we have no idea where the end of it is going to be. And so, unfortunately, where we find ourselves here today is that, as we talked about in the beginning, where we're told 7% death rate, 240,000 Texans dead by August of this year, highly contagious and affects everyone. The reality of it is none of that is true. None of it is true. The death rate, the last I saw from the CDC, and as more data is collected, the number has got to keep going down. But it's gone from 7% down now to 0.26. 0.26. Your chances of getting the COVID in Texas is 99.8% probability you won't even get it. And if you get it, you've got a 98% chance of surviving it. And it is not an equal opportunity infector. It's a target for people with a challenged, a low immune system, particularly the elderly. I keep using that word, elderly. We're talking about 60 and above. I guess that makes some of the super elderly. But 60 and above, with a compromised immune system, 60 and above, with a compromised, that is diabetes, obesity, hypertension, chemo treatments and things like that, where your immune system is down, 80% of our deaths. That's where it is. 20 and under is less than 1%. School-age kids, 15 and under. Last article I read on it, they did the calculation, said that 15 and under is 4 times more likely to be struck by lightning than to die of COVID. So what we need to be doing is focusing on those that are vulnerable. You mentioned that I was in the military. One of the things you learn in the military, in combat, I did not go into combat, but I got trained for it. Well, one thing you learn is you have a battle plan. The battle plan was put together by staff way before the battle started on their estimates of what to expect when you get into battle. John knows that because he is a hardened veteran of lots of combat, and there are some others in here. And he knows, and those that have done this know, that when the first shot is fired, the battle commander's primary job is to adjust their plan, his plan, to meet the enemy's tactics, strength, and firepower. If he doesn't, and he tries to follow a plan that doesn't match it, he's going to get his rear end kicked. He's going to lose. And that's what we haven't done. We are still today acting as though this was something that was going to have a 7% death rate, and everybody's going to get it. And so until we recognize and adjust to it, we're going to go through what we're talking about going through. For today, you understand we have now rolled back on our medical facilities in 4 counties. Dallas is one of them. And that was a major problem the first time around. And I had a real hard time with our Texas Medical Board when they did a triage from Austin. And they decided to put the citizens of Texas into 2 classes of people. The first class for medical services. First class, anyone who had the COVID or they thought had the COVID. The second class was everybody else without regard to your health conditions. It was everybody else, 2 classes. And then they reserved 99.99% of our medical facilities for the first class citizens with the COVID, to the total exclusion of all the rest of Texas. And as a result, we had many a person who could not get, because they called it elective surgery, and I just don't ever think that breast cancer surgery is elective. Prostate cancer surgery is not elective. Cancer surgery of any kind is not elective. Knee surgery, for a person that has a bad knee, it's hardly elective. You can go down the list. I said lunch 2 days ago with a friend that turned out that had been going through chemo, had 1 treatment to go, and they turned him away. And he had to go back and start all over again for 2 long periods. I had a woman that was needed knee surgery, got turned away. She committed suicide. We have done, and it's the question I've asked every time we've had the phone calls we had weekly that are just for the legislature. Who is trying, when they kept talking about we're flattening the curve, we got to flatten the curve, flatten the curve. I said, who's watching the other curve? It's the first time I asked, what do you mean the other curve? I said, I'm talking about the collateral damage to the people of Texas as a result of what we're doing to them. With this, who is looking at the damage to them? And it was crickets. Nobody was paying attention to that. The collateral damage has been great. I live in a neighborhood that has a lot of airline pilots. A couple of weeks ago, I was told that since this went into effect, we've had 6 Southwest pilots commit suicide over the financial problems they ran into. 1 week on our phone call, one of the reps from down in the Woodlands area mentioned on the call, get their attention. He said, last weekend I had 4 people in the district die of the COVID. People, they just, that's terrible, sorry that. He says, no, but we had 7 people commit suicide. Folks, our domestic violence has been up, child abuse has been up. We have a lot that's going on as a result of that. And hopefully we will not roll this back. We will go forward with opening back up, educating people to be smart, informed. As I've said, this is America, built on fundamental rights of the individual for liberty. And people should be allowed to make their own choice to the level of risk that they're willing to take. There are people here tonight who recognize it was a risk to come here because you had to get on the highway, maybe on the interstate. Some of you didn't take the interstate because you don't like the interstate. It's too scary. That's your choice. That's your risk. There's some of you who won't go out on the boat because you just don't, you think people drown if they go out on boats. That's fine. That's your choice. What we need to be doing is informing people of the facts. And as I said earlier, the facts are that this is a selective virus. It's focused, and people can do something about it and reduce their level of risk to whatever is comfortable for them to do. Not tell everybody blanket, don't come out of your house, which was bad to begin with, because what we should have, if anything, said, stay home and get in your backyard and stand in the sunshine because it kills the COVID. Don't stay in the house. I mean, the number of cases that we have of what they call familial, that is family members, because they isolated together, is huge. And the other side of it is over 50% of our deaths in Texas have been in our nursing homes. And it's over that because the numbers say 50%, close to it. But in counting, if a person is taken out of the nursing home and goes to the hospital and dies, it doesn't even count. We've got communities that all their deaths were in a nursing home, but they had the businesses shut down. And I guarantee you with this thing that's coming up with the mask now, that the mayor in some cities out there will shut them down anyhow. So let me just cover one other thing, and then I'll open it up to some questions. And that is, how did we get to where we are today? I mean, it is a question that bothers me a great deal. And the answer, I think, is it didn't happen overnight. When I say that, I'm kind of shifting gears on you. I'm getting back to where we are as a result of what we've seen that has come along as a part of this virus that's come after it and what we've seen happening in the streets and around. It didn't happen overnight. We go all the way back to my story about the chicken and slowly pulling the feathers out. This started 100 years ago when people decided that the government needed to have more money. And so we instituted an income tax because the power that the government exercises over us today is a result of the amount of money that they have. They've got the power with the money. And then quickly behind that, they stripped away some of the powers of the people when they had senators being elected by the population rather than by the states, which again unbalanced the distribution of power. That was the wisest thing our founding fathers did, was distribute that power. Unlike what we got right now, where all the power was in one person, but they had it distributed. And then over the years, we had other little things happen, like with Nixon, we moved off the gold standard, which then allowed the government to print all the money it wanted. And then we roll over and we take God out of our schools. And God's going out of our. And what did we do? Crickets. We sat there and let it happen. The water got hotter, it kept going hotter, kept getting hotter. And as we took God out of our schools and we started, the communists recognized, like what Hitler had said, give me a child when they're 7 and they'll be mine forever.
Yes.
Where did these people that have been out there with these riots, where did they learn what is in their heads that lead them to believe the things that they are now believing? Folks, we have lost it with the generations coming up. And it happened because we let it happen. We sat at home watching television, playing golf, playing tennis, reading a book to entertain ourselves, rather than paying attention to what's happening. It didn't happen fast. It was just a little chip at a time. We saw it stick its ugly head up several years ago with the program that was in our schools, and I'm just.
Common Core.
And then the Texas program. Well, I still have at home one of the lessons that was secretly got out of the school on economics. It's a stair step, and it shows a person running up these stair steps of economic principles. At the bottom of the stair step is called free enterprise. At the top is communism.
Okay.
That was one of the lessons in class. And so we have a choice. We can continue to sit at home, not be active, and see what order is going to come out of Washington or Austin next. Or we can decide to get involved, do something. Because it is a government of the people and by the people. And believe me, I will tell you that when the people get upset enough, it changes things. It does. We had a Tea Party. They got a good running start, and it actually changed some things here in Texas. And then it died out because people got complacent real quick. And the way where we're going right now, it's going to take a lot of noise. I mean, I told you, the legislators, we can't do a thing. We're not in session. We don't go into session until January. Anything we do doesn't take effect until the following year. But you can make a difference. This past year, we had almost every county in Texas pass a resolution making their county a Second Amendment sanctuary. We've had several cities that made their cities an abortion-free sanctuary in the cities. Because the people got together, they got their city council, they got their county commissioners to pass those resolutions. Local government has a lot of power, and they will listen to the people. You're the closest to them. One way around out of this is right the same route. We've already had 2, and I think maybe 3 counties now that have passed resolutions saying that they will not participate and support contact tracing. If you're going to do it state, if you go do it yourself, we're not going to support it. The county support is key for it to happen. If enough of that happens, then it will not, we can stop it from happening there. But to get back and talk about where are we really going with this, as we look at how we've come from real liberty over the years as it's gone away, and to where we are today, where we have statues of Grant being torn down, where we have statues of a foreigner who was a tremendous abolitionist and gave up his life, beheaded and dragged through the streets. And how did we get from just a few weeks ago having a businesswoman here in Texas being arrested and put in jail for simply trying to feed her family, doing something that was absolutely legal up to that point, but come down on her like a ton of bricks, to what we have seen lately, where people are out destroying private property, destroying public property, beating up, maiming people, killing people in the streets, and not a word being said about it, not a word being in the media, or the leaders doing a thing about it, and at the end, actually kneeling and asking for their forgiveness. How did we get here? Folks, I'll tell you, the only way a person I'll ever kneel to is my Lord Jesus Christ. How did we get here? Think about that. Just a few weeks ago, this is woman arrested for trying to earn a living. 2 people being killed, property being destroyed. Not one person arrested, not one person charged. This is, I bring this up because where we are on contact tracing is a very serious issue that we have to put it into. We have got to wake up that we're about to lose our country. We're about to lose what our founding fathers did for us, what many people have died and shed their blood for. We're about to lose this. And it's because we just haven't done what we need to do. When I think about it, my father was a disabled veteran. I had two uncles. One spent 3 years in a POW camp. I've had others lost. I had a sister that went to Vietnam, spent a year in a MASH unit over there. They sacrificed. They made real sacrifice. My sister couldn't even talk about what she saw in that MASH unit until about 10 years ago. That's what they did for our freedom. And we are just letting it go because we won't do what needs to be done. I can say this, make people aware of it. When you go home tonight, walk in and take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, with all those people who died for this country, who lost their limbs, or suffered the problems they came back here with PTSD, if I laid out what I've done for my country to try to defend liberty, would I be proud of it? Would they be proud of it? And that's a tough question. I said I wasn't going to make you real happy, but it's something we have to do. We have to think about it. Not think about it. We have to do it. Because if it is to be, if you can't say it's up to me and believe it and go do something about it, then it ain't going to happen. So with that, thank you all. Let me take a question or two here.
In the mics, it'll pick up on all these. In your mic, just repeat.
Jimmy and JoAnne, I don't think we're going to be able to hear the questions, so maybe now is a good time for us to go back to our sort of standard format. Thank you for alerting me to that meeting. It's interesting to see what Texas Senator Bob Hall had to say about contact tracing. What did you guys think of that?
Well, he's a real good guy. The thing that's so frustrating to hear him speak is that he was fed so much misinformation. But the thing that he made,
acknowledged it.
He acknowledged it. But the thing that happened, Jason, and everybody needs to understand, all these health departments in all these states are driving this crooked ship into the rocks. They're the ones that are making the regulations. They're the ones that are dictating what's going to happen. They're the ones that accepted these false computer studies.
Created them.
And he was told that there was going to be 100,000 dead by the end of May if they didn't do something right now. So, you know, the truth is there's 2,200 dead in Texas out of 30-something million people.
0.26. And the 80% of them are over 70.
Yeah.
Are had compromised immune systems.
But telling things, see, JoAnne and I have been to a lot of hospitals in Texas and they're empty. He explained why. Because the criminal bastards running the health departments who are bureaucrats bought out have got the hospitals empty on purpose, and the only ones getting in there are the ones that they classify to go into the hospitals.
He said just out of the blue, before this thing even started, they made a classification. 2 classifications in Texas. Class 1, people with COVID. Class 2, everybody else. Flat blanket everybody else.
Well, so what if you have like a brain hemorrhage? That's
can't go.
second
bad.
Can't go.
You're dead.
Yeah, he said everybody was turned away. Everybody. Unless you had COVID, you were turned away. That's why the hospitals were empty. And he said he went to them and he said, he said, oh, our curve is getting better, or it's getting flatter because we did this right. He said, what's the curve on part 2? The other people who were all left out. And they looked at him and said, what do you mean? And he said, I want to know how many people suffered. What's your curve on all the people who couldn't get there? And he named a bunch of people that he knew. One guy had his last chemotherapy treatment. They turned him down. He has to start all over. This kind of stuff. Yeah.
Jason, go find a legitimate politician in New York. You're going to find exactly the same story. This is what they found out in Idaho. That's why and in Idaho, they fortunately have the ability for the politicians there, the Senate and the Congress, to call a special session to extract the usurped powers from the governor.
Also,
that's being done now.
A bunch of slush funds were offered to every state, every governor that followed the guidelines. And that's what Al Bundy talks about.
That was that all these governors, the day before they made the decision to lock down, the day before they wanted to have social distancing, the day before they're going to have them wear masks, the governor got a slush fund in order to help him do activities in the state to help this condition, but it's under his financial control.
But who gives them that money?
Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C.
And it's under his personal signature, so he can do whatever he wants with it.
And this is where they're going to get this governor in Texas. Here's the disturbing thing. This is a good man. However, they don't even meet till a year from this month. And then whatever they do doesn't go into effect for another year. Listen, we're all going to be dead and buried.
Talking about the Congress.
I'm talking about Jim Hall.
No,
he doesn't meet till a year. Bob Hall. He doesn't meet till a year from this month. That's when they go back into session. And he said, then whatever we do doesn't take effect for another year. So that means 2 years from today, anything that the Senate or the Congress wants to do will take effect. So this criminal, traitorous bastard, Adolph Abbott, the governor of Texas, is going to rule and dictate and strip everybody's rights and liberties every minute of every day. He's doing something else.
He also said, one of the things he said was about contact tracing. He said it gets even worse. He's talking about, they were going to say contact tracking. The people didn't like that word. They did a poll, so they changed it to tracing. But he said, what's going to happen is if you go get tested, which I don't recommend anybody get tested ever. He said, and it comes positive, they will call you. And the governor says, you don't have to do this. You can hang up. He said, no. He said, that's a lie. He said, the governor has lied, that you have to answer, you have to talk to them, and they will show up in your house. You don't have 2 bathrooms in your house and more than one person. He said, they're going to remove the people out of your house. He said,
wow.
I asked the guy, I said, where do you get the authority to do this? He said, we have the authority. It's in the health code. And he said, what do you mean? And he said, it's in the health code. It says if somebody has a very contagious disease, then that person can be removed in case they intend to do deleterious harm to the people. In other words, if someone had Ebola and they were going to go out
or AIDS or whatever,
and they were going to go out and try to spread it, that was the code was written to put that person in quarantine.
Probably for leprosy.
Right, yeah. Right. But they have flipped it. He said they've taken something that was put in there to be used for good, and they're going to push it to be used for bad. He said it's very, very upsetting what they're doing.
And this is not just Texas, Jason. This is all 50 states. And the terrible thing is this is a coordinated event. And he kept asking, how did we get here? How did we get here? Well, how we got here, go back and look at the Rockefeller Institute annual report of 2010. They detailed exactly what's going on point by point. And it was going to happen because every year a flu virus rolls around. So it didn't make any difference. It was good, bad, or different. They're going to fluff it up into this huge pandemic and take away everybody's rights, etc.
2018 flu in Texas, they're counting this one 2019 and 2020, but 2018 flu, 11,000 were dead. This is 2,200. Yeah. And the numbers in the United States have gone down, people dying by 90%, but that's not being reported anywhere.
And they're counting every sickness, every disease, everybody that dies of COVID-19, and it's just not true. So with these huge inflated numbers, and this stupid no good Nick governor we're beginning to call him Adolph Abbott. All he needs to do is grow a little black mustache here because he's such a lying piece of garbage that he said, the cases are spiking in Texas. No, they're not. as
just more
as,
tests.
as we more
They've just-
people are
more
being
people
tested.
are being tested is all, but COVID people. What did he say? 10 out. I don't know how many people
1 out of 10.
can get it and not have no symptoms.
9 out of 10.
9 out of
Here's
10.
the other thing. We're finding out that if you've ever had a flu shot, a flu vaccine,
You're
going to
positive.
test positive.
Right.
That's right.
So all of a sudden, they've been offering free flu shots to everybody, every drugstore, every supermarket,
Right.
everybody get your free flu shot. So this is a setup. And
Well,
yet the setup is still
let me say
not
something.
producing the number of deaths.
What the people in Texas are saying, what I see on the big Open Texas sites and all these other ones, that people are saying not going to fly this time. You allowed Black Lives Matters and Antifa to fill the streets with no restrictions.
Right.
So we're not following any of your orders anymore. Why do they get a pass? We're not listening to you anymore.
And we've been passing out the regs on OSHA and on the Disabilities Act, and both of those trump the crap that they're doing with the masks and everything else. And believe me, that's caught on fire. That is steamrolling all over the country. And so now we hope we see the gorilla, OSHA, the big gorilla it is, because they have been so heavy-handed in all their regs, and you're going to follow us or else we're going to beat the hell out of you. So now then all of a sudden OSHA is being set in a second position because their regs are going to be set aside because people have got to wear a mask. And so OSHA's not happy about that.
The reason masks don't work is because to be healthy, you have to have at least 19.5% oxygen in the air around
available.
You have to breathe it in. There's a bunch of people now who've done tests with meters, and they put the mask on. They tested the ambient. It was 20 point something oxygen. They put the mask on, and immediately it dropped down to 13. It went way past the danger zone of headaches, brain damage, illnesses.
But that could
your legs,
explain it,
arms don't
JoAnne.
work.
Everybody's got brain damage.
That's exactly it. Well, that way they'll take the vaccine, But
It's bad.
Everybody's asking, how did we get here? I'm a broken record. The financial collapse was guaranteed because the Fed has been overprinting money, and we just I saw a real interesting inside report from Europe, where the Fed has been printing $1 trillion a day for the last 6 or 8 months. $1 trillion a day. So they've added, in effect, $200 trillion of debt since the first of the year. And that debt has gone to support Fed-owned banks in 160 other countries. So we're paying for it here, but they're pumping out their toilet paper. And what's happened in the United States, our dollars are worth nothing. Food has gone up at least 30% across the board. Across the board, 30%.
Yeah.
The dollars are dropping.
Dollars are not worth anything. And when these sorry bastards print money like they're doing, it devalues the money. And nobody's getting raises. Nobody's getting enhancements.
Nobody's
equal
even
to
getting a
what
paycheck.
The destruction is being done by the Fed.
Well, in the end, what they want to do, beyond making themselves not guilty for the destruction of the world economy, which they are guilty of, they want a new world order. They want complete chaos, so they have to stand up and say, okay, we'll fix this.
Yeah.
Everybody's under our governance now.
Yeah.
Everybody's under our regime.
It wasn't our banking, and that didn't what happened. The collapse of the world, all economies, is because of this nasty virus, which is really, it's a flu virus, and it's not even that bad. But they've blown it up, and all the media is complicit. Everything you read and see.
People are running around with their hair on fire. This is crazy. Why didn't
It
that
is
happen
really
last
hard
year?
to believe.
Well,
Yeah.
in 2018, when the flu was 10 times worse, why weren't people jumping up and down and going nuts?
Makes no sense.
know,
I want to touch on something that you just brought up. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see yesterday's episode of Light on Conspiracies, or was it? No, sorry, it was Monday. Light on Conspiracies with
Yeah, I
Ole
saw that.
Damagard. And
Yeah.
so we
Yeah, we
had
saw that.
Charlie Ward. What did you think about what Charlie was saying?
Well, this guy he's a 90-10. There's some truth in what he says, but there's two things. If the bad guys are in control of the reset, then Jason, you and me and 7 billion other people in the world are going to be dead right away. New World Order is going to take over. The reset is going to be under their terms and conditions.
everybody will be vaccinated with poison.
If there's a global
You'll be-
currency reset, where the bad guys, where the Khazarian mafia, where the Zionists, where the Rothschild Rockefeller Medici are not involved in banking at all, and the currencies that the United States is guilty of demonetizing forever. If all those currencies are put back on an even keel based on the real financial structure of those countries, then that global financial reset will be legitimate, and you'll see Vietnam and Iraq and Iran and all these countries whose money we demonetized, their currency will be put back on an even keel, and you'll see prosperity, and you're not going to see any more wars or anything like that.
Think about it. How can Iraq have no worth in their currency when they have so much oil?
Yeah.
And they have so much net worth in their country? That's not possible.
See, it's demonetized because
I don't know anything about that kind of stuff.
But I mean, Jason, it's not just, it's Venezuela and all the rest of them. And if you've got all, for all practical purposes, you've got all but about a half a dozen points out of a scale of 100, you've got 80 or 90 of them, which is Venezuela's oil and gas reserves. There's not any way in the world that country should not be the most prosperous, because their oil and gas is readily available. It's not deep. It's easy to produce. Yeah, it's got a lot of sulfur and everything in it, but Mexico has been building refineries to refine that oil and gas forever. And Venezuela has been precluded from refining. And all the companies that have been exploiting the oil and gas in Venezuela have left that country in a shamble. Maracaibo used to be a gorgeous place. Now it's got pools of oil spilled out on the ground. The beaches are nasty. You know, Venezuela has been destroyed by the oil and gas producers. Who in the hell do you think owns them? Rothschild, Rockefeller, Medici bunch.
They did the same thing to Libya.
Same thing in Libya. They've done it every place. So,
when they come in, they agree to clean up all their mess, all the sludge and all this stuff, but they never do it.
And Venezuela is in tough shape. And Venezuela is producing oil and selling oil, and the criminal bankers, in order to allow Venezuela to get paid for their oil, because oil is the commodity, that's the worth product. They made Venezuela vest all their gold with Bank of England to guarantee that they're going to deliver the oil. So now all of Venezuela's hard assets have been pulled out. It's in the hands of the British Bank of England, and they won't give it back. So Venezuela is not able to bond their contracts for goods and services because all their gold's been taken from them.
Let me ask you about this. Let me ask you about this, guys, because you're talking about OSHA before, but when we go to the OSHA.gov, they show a woman with a mask right there. They're not going to do anything to stop people from wearing masks.
OSHA allows masks if you're in an area that has toxic air.
Yeah.
Or certain. But if you go to their codes, Jason, their oxygen level codes, they name it in their code. You have to have a minimum of 19.5%. All these companies like Walmart requiring their people to wear masks, all of that is against OSHA, all of it. And those people are getting sick. I stood behind one lady who was working. She says, I can't stand this mask. I get a headache every day. And I said, they can't legally make you do this.
But the problem is, if you're working there and they just fire you, I mean, you're some salary person. You're not going to start suing them and stuff.
I would be suing Walmart because they're against OSHA regs.
$75,000 fine.
That's the American with Disabilities.
If you're feeling nervous, if you're feeling anxiety because you're having to wear the mask,
you don't have to wear it.
Then you don't have to wear it. And if your employer continues that, then the employer is set up for a $75,000 first time fine, $150 second time fine.
Well, see,
so there's some teeth in these standing orders.
The American with Disabilities Act does not. You cannot ask a person if they're disabled. You cannot ask them why they're disabled. In Houston now, because they are requiring masks, all these companies are putting up notices on their windows say we require a mask. However, mask exemptions, and it lists, I don't know, maybe 50 different conditions, not only asthma and other things, but anxiety. You're scared of a mask. You can't breathe with the mask on, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to wear a mask. And not only that, we will never ask you.
If you're not wearing it.
So that it says that now in Houston. Because in New York City, it doesn't say that.
I have copies of those.
In New York City, everywhere, it just says no mask, no service. That's it.
Yeah, well, that's they can't do that. It's a $75,000
Well, let me tell you guys a little story. Because yesterday, when Charles was here for the episode of Closing In, they made him sign in at the desk downstairs, which they don't normally do. That's never happened before. And not only did he have to sign in, he had to fill out a questionnaire which I have over here, but it's asking you, first of all, it tells you all this stuff about how they might deny you access to the building, and you have to give them your phone number. And Charles was really, first of all, I don't want them keeping track of who is, they don't have the right to monitor my visitors. Right, this is where I live, is my home. And then the other thing is, Charles doesn't want random weirdos in New York City standing behind him getting his phone number. So I went down there today to talk to the building manager, who is incompetent, and I asked him what authority they think they have to make inquiries of my guests and to track the comings and goings of people who visit me. And he said, listen, I'm just doing what they tell me. And this is very obviously not a Jewish guy. I've known him for 20 years. And I said to him, have you ever been to a Passover Seder with a relative with the Nazi tattoo on their arm? And he said, no. And I said, I have. And the guys that put him in there said the same exact thing that you just said. They're just following orders. So you should think about what you're doing.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Jason, that may be a real good test to file a complaint under the Disabilities Act, because Charles is trepidatious and he's nervous and anxiety prone for people asking this personal information.
Under the ADA,
it can't be done.
Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, they can't ask you any questions. It's like to say you have to wear a mask or you can't come in is like saying we don't allow wheelchairs in this.
They didn't ask him about a mask. Asking him for his phone number could make him feel trepidation. He can have an anxiety attack. That's his Disabilities Act.
But see that with what's happening with all these stores, these governors are just saying required a mask, or people can't shop without a mask, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't want to wear a mask, can't wear a mask, whatever. And so under the ADA, you don't have to wear a mask. Masks are not required by law in the United States under the Americans for Disability Act.
But
they're not required.
It's easier than that. If somebody asks you for your phone number and it gives you an anxiety attack, they violate it. They violated that.
That's
act.
a hard one to prove, but the mask thing will work 100%, and that's why they have these things. I can send you one, Jason. People put them out all over the internet.
You sent it to me that says the different things you can
it's a whole
get
list of
exemptions
them, and
from.
what they're saying is listen, they got notified. You're going to be fined $75,000, and the second one is $150,000 fine. You can't.
I'd like to get the building fined.
If somebody's crippled, for example, and they can't get in because you don't have a ramp, you can't ask them, why are you crippled? Why are you in that chair?
You know what?
Do you
Actually,
have?
a friend of mine who owns a restaurant, I went in there one time and they had this massive redo to the bathroom, and I was like, what happened? And he said they got hit with an enormous fine because somebody with a wheelchair was in the restaurant and they didn't have a properly coded handicap bathroom.
That's it.
Same code.
$75,000 fine. So this is a
Costco,
serious deal.
Costco is in trouble right now because Costco made their own rule. Maybe a month ago, their own rule. No, everybody has to wear a mask to come in here. People pay to shop at Costco.
Oh, right. And then if you're losing your membership.
And a lot of people quit their memberships. They said, I'm not coming to that store anymore. But now Costco's under attack. They can be sued for making people wear masks.
That's good. Let me talk to you about another guy who should be sued. We've got Andrew Cuomo here. Actually, I wanted to bring up an image of him. This is such a contemptuous, horrible individual. It's difficult for me to find words.
Get rid of the Cuomo family. I mean, can't they just do something, get rid of them? Isn't there somebody there who could just
Where's Al Capone when you need him?
Yeah,
I have a real issue with these dynastic political families. I want you guys to look at this. So Cuomo's been doing his daily, stupid podcast show. Look at how tan he is. I don't know if this is his support of Black Lives Matters. Oops. What just happened? I don't know if that's how he supports Black Lives Matters by, identifying as black, or if he's got so much leisure time that he can be out suntanning. But this is offensive. He's telling us how to stay inside, and he looks like he's just come back from a Caribbean vacation.
Well,
this
there's
is
a county
a terrible guy.
He's buying man-tan by the gallon, I can tell you.
There's a county in Oregon, Lincoln County, that supposedly made it only people have to wear masks are white people. Anybody
What?
of color does not have to wear a mask. Yeah, Lincoln County, Oregon.
Why is that?
And,
Yeah.
and that's going to be open for big, huge lawsuits. But see, as dark tan as he is, he could probably fall under that. I don't have to wear a mask. See, I'm a person of color.
Now, the other thing I want to point out, someone in our chat told me this while we were watching the senator give his presentation. Everybody basically remembers just the other day that I was over in Washington Square Park, and I noticed this squatter. Actually, we first noticed him on Sunday. Charles and I noticed this guy, and when I went back there on Wednesday, he had like a girlfriend or some kind of female companion. Maybe she was, I don't know, holding the crack pipe or something. But now he's on the cover of the New York Post. And it says, this squatter turned Washington Square Park's iconic fountain to his own spiritual zone. So I told the cops that this was in danger of becoming an autonomous zone. You cannot just squat on public property, particularly this guy's naked. He's doing all kinds of weird stuff. This is Matthew John Mishevsky in the heart of Greenwich Village.
How much he's getting paid to sit there.
Well, he's intimidating people and preventing them from enjoying the park, because if you go into his little zone there, maniacs are going to try to smash you with Saratoga water bottles.
No, that was a wine bottle. She came after you, and it was wine bottles have thicker glass than about anything else.
Go
So
over to Little Italy. You'll find someone who'll take care of him.
Look at this. I mean,
yeah,
why are they allowing him to stay there? He's littering the place up. He's made this park his home. He's sleeping
This is
there.
what
I mean,
the
this
hippies
is
did. You remember when the hippies
By
did
design.
this? Where I grew up in a little town in Oregon, they decided they were going to go out and camp by this river, this beautiful river that was there. And they were so nasty and so anti-sanitary. Of course, they don't know anything. They don't know how to cook. They don't know how to take care of themselves. They grew up in a house where there was a toilet, and a stove. And so they're out there. They were into the health department all the time with scab lice and all kinds of diseases that you get from not being sanitary. Well, finally, the city and the county threw them out. They said, we can't have this. When they left, they had to put lye all over the whole area. It was so infested in disease and horrible. This is what's going to happen. These are the kind of people.
It's ridiculous. I mean, exactly. We're having a pandemic, and we are letting this like filthy
That's part
disease
of the pandemic right there.
spreading mess just hang out in the middle of the park. I mean, later down in the article here, they have an interview with a mom who says, passerby said the outdoor accommodations were an eyesore. I mean, that's the least of it. The city isn't doing a lot of things. They should get people to move off the streets, said
Well, you've got a
Kaisha
real screwed
Anderson.
up mayor too.
Jason, haven't y'all paid enough tax to
Well,
get
exactly.
some kind of service out of that bunch of sorry bastards?
That's what I said.
Mayor.
Go
I
back.
mean, New York's tax rate is huge.
Yeah, go over to Little Italy. You'll find someone who could take care of that problem.
Yeah. I mean, I told the cops that this was, but now they put it in see, here's what the newspaper is doing. They're referring to this guy as a squatter. They're saying that it's an eyesore. I mean, what we are saying here is this guy is a filthy vagrant. He's not a squatter.
He's a danger.
He's a danger to the public. His girlfriend or whoever she was tried to attack me. I told the cops that, and then, somebody who was observing them or protecting them or whatever literally assaulted me, smashed my phone to the ground, and the cops did nothing.
Yep. Well, that's just what the senator was talking about. People need to stand up. They don't need to say, oh, it's kind of an eyesore. No, they say this person needs to go.
If I shot anybody in the park the other day, in addition to being totally illegal to have a gun in New York City, I would be in jail right now.
Yeah.
I'd have to
But
go
if
to
they
Texas
throw-
with that guy to shoot him.
Yeah.
That's right.
If they whack you on the head with their wine bottle, they'll be given get out of jail free card because you were invading their space, and all they are is what? They're vagrants, they're degenerates, they're whatever.
Listen, in Texas, if you look at the state, you'll see that there's like 4 or 5 major counties that have problems. This is a huge, huge state, Texas is. It's a huge state. A huge amount of the counties, I would say, 75 to 80% of them have nothing going on with COVID.
Right. But they're
Or
still
very little.
closed.
The county we're in had 6 cases,
And all of them
and they're
cured.
finished.
But Jason, the thing that we heard from this senator, same thing we heard from White is that there's nothing at all going to be done by the Congress or the senators or the governors or anybody. The only thing can be done is the people
have to do
can
something.
go to the closest official you got, your county commissioner or whatever, and go and beat them up, give them a verbal tongue lashing.
He's halting elective surgeries again.
Is
today. Yeah. See, he's been offered some more money from someone.
Yeah.
But
No
you
doubt.
know, Jason, it's so disgusting here when you allow all these protesters in the streets throwing bricks and hurting people and all together, none of them wearing masks, doing anything they want. How can you impose restrictions on the people who aren't doing anything?
Yeah. No, I mean,
You
it's
know,
just, it's right on its face. I mean, people remember they kicked us out of the City Hall Park when we were just trying to, protest the lockdown. You had to leave right away.
Yep.
And then, you know what? Someone's bringing up a very good point. Catherine says that clearly somebody at the New York Post is watching this show and pays special attention to what we're doing and then highlights the things, right? Like that statue of Alice in Wonderland that they said was going to get bombed. This guy's girlfriend tries to kill me and now he's on the cover of the newspaper. Why would they put him on the cover of the New York Post? That's going to encourage
Nobody
more
wants to
vagrants
see
and
him.
losers to go there and hang out with him.
Yeah.
Nobody
Well,
wants to see
after you had Dr. Lozano on your show, the next day she was on Laura Ingram's show. And as I told you, I'm seeing interviews you're doing. I'm seeing shows that you do on all kinds of sites. Guns America has links to your sites. It has nothing to do with guns or anything, but they have links to your site. Some other ones, some car sites that I go to, they have links over on the side. Always there's one or two links. So, you're a real target because you're making a difference and people are paying attention to what you're doing. You're bringing a broad spectrum of people that are giving diverse opinions, and you got folks that are bringing proof of what's going on. And so you are a target, and I'd get me some Kevlar underwear at least.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are. Look, I mean, here's the fact. I was initially very reluctant to leave, and I'm still very reluctant to leave. I mean, this is my home. I've been living here for 21 years, just in this apartment. I've been living in New York City for 30 years, and I was born in New York City, and then, moved and came back. But I don't really want to leave, except that now there's nothing here. I can't go in any stores. I can't go see any of my friends. I can't go somewhere and meet new friends. I can't buy anything. I'm just sitting in this apartment. If it wasn't for the interaction that I have with all of the great people that come on Crowdsource the Truth, I would just be sitting here doing nothing.
Jason, you have an interesting life. So your mind is occupied. Imagine these poor, too dumb to learn people that are becoming insane.
Right.
They're becoming psychotic. Can you imagine a mother staying home with 7 kids? She's ready to commit suicide or throw them all out of a tall window or whatever. The thing is, it is affecting our core because we're not able to function as free human beings. We have been taught how to remain in jail in your home. And that's not something that we
called
deserve.
house arrest.
House arrest. And it's
voluntary. It's
voluntary.
not constitutional.
And you're afraid to go outside because of this. You're afraid to do this. You're having all your liberties taken away from you. And
I can't even have people come visit me now.
No,
I
you
know.
can't. And so if this Texas senator's right, and he's not happy about any of it, but if he's right, then that means we the people are going to have to go back and wrest this back from all these
believe
criminals.
me, they're afraid of us. There's a lot more of us than there are of them.
There's a really interesting site. It's called White Hats, and they got some videos out. They do some real good
Paladin,
detailed
isn't it?
banking. White Hats Media, I think, and their number 48 episode 1 is a really good banking deal. But they're a really interesting group. They do really good research and everything.
I'm pretty sure that's Paladin's website.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's Paladin? I don't know him.
He's been on the show a bunch of times.
Okay.
That's his logo.
Episode 40, number 48, episode 1, really a real good, hard-hitting, well-researched banking document. And there are folks like that are doing a good job of really outing the bad guys. But
Jason.
the thing is, we now are at the point where we need to be in the street. We need to be taking our government back from all these criminals. And you can point your finger at who's controlling it, who's controlling the money.
They're proving how much they can force people to do. Right now, they're testing us. But I was going to say, Jason, I know how you feel. Jimmy and I have been this way since 2000, and since we came back from Libya, we've been under house arrest, basically.
Right.
We don't go anywhere. We don't do anything.
Our windows are blacked out.
We get trailed wherever we go. We get tracked.
They've snatched us off the streets. It's not easy. And believe me, if I didn't have JoAnne with me, and I hope that she feels the same way, I'd be nuts. I'd be ready to go out and string some people up and try to do it because I don't have any sense.
We've developed a lot of hobbies, interesting hobbies. I like to cook and garden and stuff. Well, a little bit
actually,
of
you're an amazing cook, I have to say, for people who aren't aware. Let me just ask you guys about this, because you were talking about lawsuits. It was announced this morning that the businesses in Seattle that are being obstructed by this CHOP are suing the city for not upholding, you pay all these taxes, not so a bunch of ne'er-do-well college dropouts can tell you to cancel the police by force. That's like, why don't some of them run for Congress and come up with a plan? But so these businesses are suing.
You know who they need? They need Gaddafi, because when these people tried this in Libya, they just got exiled out of Libya.
Let me tell you what's a real sad fact, Jason. All these governments, and I'm talking about from D.C. all the way down, they have passed indemnification laws or regs where you can't touch them. They cannot do any wrong. There's no recourse. And they have a pool. They have a government pool. But it's indemnification for any act they do. And they've got a pooled insurance where all the counties are pooled together. And so if you try to bring action against a county, then you're going to have to fight all the counties in your state.
Yeah,
and
they just have too many resources.
It's a real incestuous. It was by design, and you don't have any recourse against the bad guys.
It's all anti-constitutional, all of it.
You guys want to hear something? AJ is on Periscope saying, my mom is in so much pain because she was scheduled for a hip replacement. Now, I mean, that's not exactly elective. I suppose if you consider walking optional.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not even, you're still in pain even though you're not walking.
Right.
You can't sleep. People who have hip pain have
when you're bone on bone,
pain.
it is a pain that I'm telling you, I'm going through it with my other knee now.
This is what the senator said. He said in Texas, and I'm sure they did this in all these other states, we have two categories: one that has COVID, one that doesn't. Those that don't can't come to the hospital. Our hospitals take priority for number one only.
Find a nurse or a doctor that you can talk to, Jason. You're going to be told the same thing. That directive was given to them by the health department.
That's why all these nurses have lost their jobs.
Yeah.
I've been calling the media office for New York Health and Hospitals like every day, emails. They never respond. Now, that's a public hospital. Tax money goes to it. These people are in the official media office. I'm calling them. I'm not crank calling them. I'm calling them and asking things like, hey, the New York Times just tweeted that Dr. Colleen Smith is positive for COVID-19 and expressing mild symptoms. 9 days later, she's tweeting that she's seeing patients in the ICU. What's the hospital's policy on COVID-positive staff members interacting with patients? No response for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said something, Jason. This is a really valid point. They said, how is it that we all have to stand 6 feet apart and wear masks, yet when we go check out at the grocery stand, use your credit card, that little pad, nobody cleans a pad. Everybody's using it on their hands the same. They're just following along, and everybody punches the same thing. No cleaning.
Jason, let me tell you how rigged it is. Fauci and all these other criminal bastards that have been ruining our lives, stripping us of all our liberties, they use tests. They use all these different techniques to discount things that work, like the hydrochloroquine, whatever it is.
Right.
Well, the whole world knows for that to work, you have to add zinc and some other things to it. You should use an antibiotic, but it's a 3-part deal. So in England, the research lab that was tasked to define whether that really worked or not used only the hydrochloro
Hydroxychloroquine.
without the zinc of the other thing. So his entire report, which is the basis for Fauci and all these other criminals, he's now been proven to have a false test. And he was the reference point.
What are you looking at, Jason?
Well, it says the National Institutes of Health abruptly cut off funding to a long-standing, well-regarded research project on bat coronaviruses only after the White House specifically told it to do so, according to Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of NIH's National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Fauci made the revelation on Tuesday at a congressional hearing on the federal response to COVID, coronavirus, which is caused by a coronavirus that is genetically linked to those found in bats. This is all a lot of nonsense that they're writing here because Fauci is just going in front of that other idiot, Nadler, and these are not actual hearings. I was watching it yesterday, and it reminded me of, there was an incident years ago where I was riding on a subway, actually down to City Hall for something I don't even remember what. And I remember I was like, this is a remarkably empty subway car. It's like me and 4 other people. And then this group of like young teenage girls obviously had just come from playing tennis. They all had tennis rackets and like a teacher with them. And they came on like 15, 20 girls screaming like it was recess suddenly inside the subway car. And I was like, I won't even do it now, but very loud. I was like, hey girls, knock it off. And loud. And my voice carries. And the car went silent. And on the stop where all these tennis girls got off, the 4 remaining adults all thanked me personally for doing that. So there's a lot of times that people want somebody to stand up and say something, but they're afraid to do it themselves.
Yeah, that's true. Jason Fauci, have you seen him when he's in front of these committees? They've got their nose so far up his ass, it's sickening. You've been doing service for all these years, and you're such a great guy, and we know that you walk on water, etc. He is an absolute criminal. He's a deep state piece of garbage, and he has taken away our liberties. And we've got too many.
He has no authority to do it.
We have too many politicians following his lead, and he and Gates and the rest of them are all absolutely eugenists.
Yep.
And their agenda is being bought and swallowed
Agenda
by
21.
everybody.
Jason, there was a note, there was a sign.
He's a traitor.
We went to the grocery store yesterday here, this little area we're in, and there was a sign on the store that said, "We would appreciate it if you would not use cash."
Whoa.
That the Federal Reserve has notified us that they are short on cash.
What?
That's what it said.
A store? The Federal Reserve notified a store?
Walmart.
I don't believe that.
No, it wasn't Walmart. It was Brookshire
Brothers.
But do you really think that the Fed would contact an independent? Yeah, me neither.
No, but they're trying to get rid of dollars. They're trying to go to digital money because this now 1.5 quintillion, maybe 2 quintillion now. But the Federal Reserve has been printing $1 trillion a day, Jason. That's been exposed. What the article said, and this was an inside article from a group of European leaders that were so concerned about the financial situation in the United States. They said the dollar, if you can picture the dollar floating above a precipice that you can't see the bottom of.
An abyss.
That's where the dollar is right now, and it is going to crash, and it's going to take all of us down with it.
So what do we do?
So here we've got all this phony money, all
That's
this
the
phony
Europeans
printing.
too. They don't want it. They don't.
But what should we do?
So, well, you get out of dollars. Don't
I
have
bought
any kind of
cases
paper
of desiccated food.
Yeah, well,
there you go.
there you go.
But you need to be able to barter with something.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Until
in packs. I thought about that actually.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, buy this, buy that. But food, everybody's going to want food. And I want food.
Everybody's going to need food and water.
But Jason, the lie is so big, they said that our debt is only climbing by a couple of $1 trillion when they're adding $1 trillion a day. Please don't eat those little balls of shit anymore. It's just not true. They lie. And what they've done is the few dollars anybody has left have been so devalued by their overprinting, and they're passing these dollars to 160 other countries to support those governments. And the people in the United States are the obligatory party, and they're going to give a little $1,200 bump to somebody when just his latest CARES adds $9,000 of debt to every man, woman, and child. They're going to give you $1,200.
How did Joe Biden? He supposedly got 11 million donated to him over the past week or something. He got 11 million, and he hasn't been out of his basement until today. They said he hasn't even been out of his basement.
Well,
and he had some podcast going that like 65 people were watching. They said,
really?
And he made so many gaffes, and Obama kept turning green.
Oh my gosh, I did not see that. But
yeah,
we were all over the place here. I was trying to show that video of him, and I accidentally clicked on something.
Yeah.
Let Jason go. We need to.
Well, all right.
Jason,
it's been a very interesting show to see that meeting. I wanted to see what creepy Uncle Joe is talking about here. Let's see what he says.
Necessarily, now we have over 120 million dead from COVID.
Whoa.
Unnecessarily, now we have over 120 million dead from COVID.
That would be like half the country.
That's a small gaffe.
Wow. Oh my God. I mean, the man is
mental.
Not.
The other day he said he'd been locked in, he'd been in his basement so long, some of his friends took him for an outing, and they took him to a strip club, and Obama said that wasn't a strip club, that was a kindergarten.
Yeah. I guess you can tell by the smell.
That's Jimmy's
Sniffing Uncle Joe. Well, Jimmy and JoAnne, thank you for alerting me to that meeting, and this was a nice impromptu presentation. If people are seeing you guys for the first time, it's important that we let them know that they can watch every Monday on Patreon and Subscribestar. People are going to want to tune into Unseen Libya at patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty. And if people want to learn more about Jimmy and JoAnne, you can go to their free website, LibyanWarTheTruth.com. You should purchase the DVD. They have put this together with their own information that they gathered in Libya. General Michael Flynn has said that Jimmy and JoAnne have provided the best human intelligence the United States has ever had in Libya, and their entire journey, including their amazing escape, is documented in the DVD Escape from Al-Qaeda. It's only $15 and $5 for shipping, but if you sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, you're going to get shipping for free, and the DVD is only $15. You can also sponsor this show on patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Thanks everybody for watching. Jimmy, JoAnne, thank you guys for joining me tonight.
Thank you, Jason.
Appreciate the time.
God bless you.
We'll see you guys on
so
Monday.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for watching.